First of all, sorry for the low sound quality, boys. I don't have my microphone with me, only the headset, but I hope it's not too bad. Today we're going to talk about defaults on train on T-side because it's one of the harder maps to play T-side on, and the importance of a good default and how winning a round off of a default can allow you to do more things such as executes later on into the half. So looking on, two of the most important areas of the map pretty much are brown holes and ivy. Brown holes because if you get control of it as T, you're pretty much forcing the CTs to send an extra player towards B. Usually most teams start off by running a 4A 1B setup in the case of a rush by the terrorists so they can stop it, and ivy is probably the only other part of the map where as T you can try and get a pick, apply pressure to the CTs with relative safety, because it's much harder to get out of T mid or ladder. There are much more angles you need to watch out for, and it's a narrower choke point. So let's see how VP approaches their default. This was the final game against Cloud9 at DreamHack Bucharest just previous weekend. So Cloud9 has a double op setup on Stewie and Skadoodle, and Stewie is holding not a super aggressive angle because obviously Snacks can't see him, but he's waiting for someone to overextend pretty much to try and get an early kill. You can see Pasha and Bialy towards Ivy slowly creeping up to try and get a pick with Pasha's op. This is very important. You saw that Snacks just flashed in Neo, but Neo still doesn't wide peek. He's still aware of this angle by the CTs, so he throws a molly, and that pretty much chases any player away. Same thing happened early on in Ivy. VP, I'll rewind it. VP flashes pretty much immediately because CTs, some teams like to go for early Ivy aggression, and you can see the flash and to try and get a pick early on to get an advantage. So that's really important. The way you initially peak, you need to be aware of that being a possibility, and throwing a flash pretty much negates it, and the Molotov, as we see here, Stewie is forced out. So now Cloud9 is slowly using their utility to buy time, molly and smoke from Shroud. Actually that was Kadoodle's smoke, Shroud still has his. And we can see Snacks rotating towards mid. They cleared out close mid because they didn't know if anyone could be in there. And you can see now Bialy and Pasha slowly going Ivy to try and get a pick with the op. Neo is down ladder already, and Cloud9 still has a decent amount of utility. They get another smoke towards ladder. VP throws their second smoke in Ivy, and they are again creeping out Ivy to try and get a pick. If you can see now, this is very important because VP is already getting a lot of information. Neo is down ladder, so he knows no one is close. He was also smoked off, so he gets a sense that people are watching ladder from far away. Also, the guys from Ivy coming out, no close contact, meaning someone is watching probably from either CT or exactly the position Skadoodle is at, which leaves the rest of the players, C9 CT players, could either be in heaven, somewhere like Link or around site, or close, mid, hell, some of these positions, right? Which is still a lot of info. You know that people are not close up, and you can see how now VP will slowly start using their utility from it to negate some of these positions and go for a coordinated push towards the outer bomb side. They also molly this position off. Skadoodle is forced to rotate, but they just turn around towards the other side, and they're basically pinching the bomb side from 3 different directions, and you can see that all of the C9 players are there. Now you're thinking this might be good for C9 because they have 4 players there, they're relatively near to each other, but this is a very chaotic situation from them. Nothing is not sure from which side he can get shot first. He's turning left and right. It's a similar situation for pretty much all of the players. So you can see right now how it will unfold. He's forced to molly the back side. Automatic gets traded immediately. Shroud dies to Taz. You can see how nothing, how nothing is at that point. Kind of looking towards mid, looking towards Ivy, not sure which position he should watch out first, and basically with good holds VP just gets a pretty clean round. Now this is because VP is such an experienced team, right, they can get a pretty good guess, an educated guess, so to speak, how the CTs are holding, and that's why against them, and you see this more and more from the CTs playing against the best T-sided teams in the world, like VP, like Navi, they go for more aggression early on the CT side to try and counter this, and a team that does that maybe even the best right now is SK Gaming. So you see how they also are known for their double op setup, but in this case they only have one op on Fallen, and he pushes immediately towards lower ramp. Taco holds a pop flash that will pop behind him in case someone goes for a fast take on B, and you can see how he just keeps pushing until he gets contact. Now obviously Fallen is an extremely skilled player and not everyone can pull this off, but you can see how this way he creates an advantage for his team very early on, and even one player going down, if you look at the VP setup, let's say Neo is not there to run out of ladder, that completely negates one area of attack. So even if VP sends someone else there, well, then they don't have someone to trade from another angle. With a three-prong attack, it's very important to have all of your players alive. It's much more difficult to execute it properly otherwise. So going back to the VP game, an example of how them running defaults allowed them to get a sense of how C9 likes to hold generally and how they could switch things up with going for an execute. So VP has been mostly running their defaults in the second half with mixed success, 1-2 rounds. I think they lost 2 as well. So you can see the exact same setup pretty much. It's just that Snacks is now in mid and Taz is watching ladder while Neo took control of brown holes, and they're just going to wait out utility from the CTs pretty much. It will make it a lot easier for them to actually go out. Pasha throwing a smoke close so he can creep up towards Ivy, and this is where the execute comes in, and this is a bit different because the most standard one is smokes. You have 3 smokes which cover off the whole bomb site, probably even one smoke here which negates all of these positions and allows you to get to the bomb site, plant the bomb, and then play the afterplan situation. But VP, knowing that by now that C9 likes to hold far back, they're not going to play the E-leg box or on top of the train or something like that. They throw different smokes for CT link, here for the old site, and deep into Ivy as well to allow Pasha to maneuver from that position. And a close smoke here as well. That negates the line from here, or maybe a player playing close up. And you can see how even though they're a bit late, because this molly slows down the people from Team Mid, they are also running towards here without having anyone to challenge them, and that again gives them a lot of info because someone should be in sight or somewhere watching, and they know that a player is probably up in heaven towards Ivy because Pasha still didn't have contact, and someone is around either Hell or some of those positions. You can see how they keep running in. By now the other players are coming out of Team Mid, and in basically a split second all 3 of Cloud9 players fall because Automatic is forced to turn, the smoke is dissipating. Neo, who was pushing all the way, knowing that if he doesn't have any contact, he has to find someone eventually, so he's just pushing through, gets Automatic. Pasha focuses on Shroud, and nothing died from Snacks, from the electric box. And basically that's it. The whole site is clear. They have a good afterplan situation. Stu is on the flank, but it's already too late, and Skadoodle can't do much from the connector either. So you see how running a default, even though you didn't win all of the rounds from it, you get a good idea of how your opponents like to play, especially if they don't switch up the tempo on the CT side. They don't like throw in some aggression. VP knows what to expect from them, knows what are the most likely positions that Cloud9 is going to play from, and then it's just a matter of them having good timing with their execution and having enough focus to get the trade kills. Another set execute you can go for, and which is pretty popular, is towards the B bomb site, and NIP has a trademark execute which I will show you guys now, with a lot of Molotovs towards the B bomb site. And again, this is something that can be very useful, very potent depending on what you did before in the half, did you go towards the B bomb side? Did you use a lot of grenades? Did you go for contact plays and so on? And again, we see NIP starting off from a default. The thing is, why you can't just, or why it's hard to go straight into a B execute early on, because if you're running a default and having two players IB pretty much every default you run, then if you don't have people there early in the round, it's easy for the CTs to guess, oh, so they had people IB every round, now there's no one there, they're probably setting up for a set execute, and that makes it easier for the Ts to set up, for the CTs to, set up and to defend against it. So the NIP players going into the same default setup they've been going for before. G2 even has Scream very aggressively in mid as a sort of a adjustment, a little risk, and he has information here, but doesn't really allow G2 for too big of a rotation as of just yet. So I'm gonna fast forward it a little bit. He has another smoke, and you can already see Smith is slowly creeping towards the inner bomb side. G2 already has two players there, knowing that Scream doesn't even hear anything, nothing is flying over, 30 seconds left, so it's most likely a B execute at this point. And you can see how NIP throws the deep smokes. Here they don't throw a smoke close or in the middle of lower ramp. Forest throws a smoke higher so he can peek from this angle towards like pop dog to see if someone's there or get the trade, because that's a good position against executes if you can avoid the flashes. But more importantly, they throw 3 Molotovs that cover the whole back of site. I think one of them actually failed, but this whole area is mollied off, so you don't have to focus on it at all, which only leaves the position, this angle that Flaby likes to hold, the spools position, and someone playing close. But that's why there are a lot of flashes coming in, right? So players, if you're playing from an open position, it's easier for you to get flashed. And you can see how the push comes in. Forest even goes for a cheeky push through the smoke, catches shocks off guard, Body gets the kill but immediately gets traded. Freiburg is pushing towards to get to gain ground. That's why the deep smokes are there, so he can't get killed from these angles. And that's important, because even if you get control of the B bomb site and you're in a 4v3, if the CTs still have some utility saved, they can throw a smoke on the bomb or like molly off some positions if you're playing passive, and really negate your ability to trade kills effectively. Now that's also one of the reasons why NIP took so long for the execute, to make G2 spend most of their utility on the outer bomb site, and then they won't have as much for the retake. So after this point it's pretty much a done deal for NIP. 4v2 after plant, Freiburg in a great position, and they just managed to finish out the round pretty easily from that point. So yeah, that was an example of why the defaults are important. And when you look at it, the best teams on the world at this map, like VP, like Navi, like SK, most of the times they will go for a default first, because that way they're harder to read. You can always fall back to an execute. If you go straight into an execute, like I mentioned, sure, it can work if you have a really good execute, something new with a good pop flash or something that will surprise the CTs. Yes, of course it can work, but them knowing that it's coming will make it harder for you to pull it off, actually. And yeah, if you have any questions about it, suggestions, just hit me up on Twitter or in the comment section below.